Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to another video, and I do apologize as I got this video out late. But today we are going to be ranking our top 10 wide receiver prospects from the 2025 NFL Draft. Previously we did quarterbacks, we did running backs as well. So make sure to check out those videos if you haven't already. Did our top 10 in each position, but today we're going to be doing wide receiver, and I'm also going to be getting out a full first round mock draft. I want to say Tuesday or Wednesday before the draft. I'm super excited. I've been doing a lot of study on these players, way more than I've ever done in the past. So I'm actually really excited for this draft. Do lots of videos after, of course, talking about draft winners and losers, but nonetheless, let's hop into this. This wide receiver class is not for the faint of heart. It is, there's not a lot of top end talent except for number one, who you'll see, but there's not really anybody that sticks out. But at the same time, just like the running back class, it's pretty deep. I'd say the difference between number 2 on this list and number 10 really is not that far away. So I think there's a lot of solid players who are going to be very good contributors, at the NFL level. And let's hop right into it. So starting off at number 10, we have Jaylen Null, out of Iowa State. He's 5'11", 200 pounds. And guys, in case you haven't checked out my other position prospect ranking videos, we do rank these guys amongst themselves. So out of the 10 receivers, where do they rank in size? Where do they rank in athletics? Where do they rank in stats, and so on and so forth. So that's what those numbers on the side are. So out of these 10 receivers, Jaylen Null ranks 10th in size at the bottom. His athletics, though, I gave him a 4.1 out of 5. And this isn't just their 40, right? So some of these guys, this is just based off of all the measurables we got from the combine or their pro day. So some of these guys did a lot more than others. Some of them did the 40-yard dash, the 10-yard dash, they did bench press, and some of them just did the 40-yard dash. So out of everything that he did, I gave him a 4.1 out of 5. He did run a 4.3940, had a very, very good combine. He is top 3 in that category. He had 80 catches for 1,200 receiving yards and 10 receiving touchdowns at Iowa State last year, which ranks out 8th. Ceiling, I said I think he'll just be a reliable slot. I don't see like superstar or star potential in Jaylen Null, but I do see a very good contributor, someone who is reliable, someone who you can trust. So he does rank out towards the bottom, a low ceiling. But even though his floor is 8th, I do think he does have a high floor. Which is to be a special team contributor. He has that experience at the college level. He's able to contribute day one, in special teams. So I do think that adds value, which ranks out 8th here. His tape, I gave him 9th, and quarterback rating when targeted. So I took two stats from NFLDraftBuzz.com. The first one being the rating that their quarterback has when they target them, and then also their hands rating. And they have an actual rating on their website, but I just ranked them out based off of where they compared. So out of the 10, he had the 6th best hands rating. And once again, this is not my stat. That's from NFLDraftBuzz.com. Jaylen Null he's a good slot prospect. He's a vertical threat. He's able to adjust his body very well. Even though he ranks out towards the bottom in size, he still has a very good frame. He's stout. So I think he's going to be a very safe option at the NFL level. And honestly, exactly what you're looking for in a slot receiver. And I'll tell you what, him having a 4.3940 really helps him out, really helps out his draft stock. So I think he'll be a very safe contributor at the NFL level. Now, coming in at number 9, this is kind of a high ceiling guy, a guy you draft for the ceiling. Felton out of Maryland. He's 6'2", 181. I gave him a 4.8 out of 5. So he is second amongst all these receivers with a 4.8 out of 5, which is very impressive. This dude ran a 4.37. This dude is athletic. This dude is speedy. Last year at Maryland, he had 96 catches for 1,100 receiving yards and 9 receiving touchdowns, which ranks out ninth. His ceiling, I think he could be a star. I think he could be the second best receiver in this class. And honestly, it's kind of funny. He reminds me a lot of Stephon Diggs. This guy could be a Stephon Diggs Jr. Not only did they both go to Maryland, they both have similar size, similar skills, very similar skill set. And one thing I like about Ty Felton is he's going to be a reliable, he's going to be a good slot. Like, that's going to be his role in the NFL. And he's honestly able to catch through contact very well for a slot receiver. He uses his body really well, despite having a thinner frame at 181. He makes up for it, and he plays very physical. I'm a huge fan of Ty Felton, honestly. I think he'll be good at the NFL level. I do think he has a lower floor than a lot of these guys on this list, so I gave him a reliable backup floor, which ranks out ninth. But I think he has that star potential that could rank him towards the top of the class for sure. His tape ranks out eighth, and he does rank bottom last in quarterback rating when targeted. I really didn't watch Maryland last year. I don't think they had a good quarterback, so I'm not really too concerned about that. Still a 100.8 quarterback rating, but it does rank out 10th, and his hands rating ranks out 10th. But like I said, this guy has star potential written all over him. Don't be surprised if this dude becomes the rebirth of Stephon Diggs. Coming in at number 8, we have Jaden Higgins out of Iowa State. He's 6'4", 215 pounds. He does have the best size in this class. In my opinion, he ranks out first. And also, just so you know, when I talk about size in the slide, I only put their height and weight, but I also factor in their hands, their reach. I factor in more than just height and weight, because a lot of these guys have the same height and weight. But he does rank out first there. His athletics, I gave him a 2.4 out of 5. Honestly surprised me with a 4.47 40. I think that's pretty impressive for him, and a lot faster than what he looks like on tape. He looks kind of slow on tape, but he's very savvy. His tape ranked as bottom last because, like I said, it doesn't pop out at you. His athletics doesn't pop out at you, but obviously he's a very good athlete. But he's a good athlete compared to this class as well. He ranks out 7th. But yeah, 4.47 40 is honestly really impressive for me. And I think, like I said, helps him out a lot, because when you watch his tape, he makes it look easy, but he looks so slow. His stats last year, Iowa State, he put up 87 catches for 1,200 receiving yards and 9 receiving touchdowns, which ranks out 7th. His ceiling, I think he does have a very low ceiling. He just doesn't jump off the page. I think he could be an average wide receiver too, which ranks out 9th. One comparison that I like for him, and when I watch him play, who he kind of reminds me of is like a Mack Hollins type, who has carved out a very good role in the NFL. But Mack Hollins is never going to be like your wide receiver 1 or your superstar receiver, at least not at this point. So I think that's a good comp for him. His floor, very high floor to me, reliable backup, which ranks out 5th. And then his quarterback rating when targeted is a 107.7, which ranks out 9th. And the reason that is a little concerning to me, obviously not that concerning, but it is something to factor in, because he did play on the same team, obviously, as Jaylen Null. So that means they had the same quarterback throwing to them. And if you look at Jaylen Null, his quarterback rating when targeted is a little bit better, but it's pretty close, and I don't think that's any room for concern. His hands do rank out 2nd as well. He has very good hands, very reliable. When you watch the tape, you can tell this dude has like suction cups for palms. This dude just vacuums those balls in. Pause. I'm so sorry, Jaden Higgins. I did not mean to disrespect you like that. He just has very, very reliable catchability, which makes him a very safe option at the NFL level, as well as his size. That helps as well, right? Coming in at number 7, we have Emeka Egbuka out of Ohio State. I hope I said that right. And this guy is 6'1", 205 pounds, 3.8 out of 5. I gave him for his athletics. He did run a 4.45. Last year at Iowa State, he had 81 catches, 1,000 receiving yards, and 10 receiving touchdowns. His ceiling and floor, I both think, is just being a reliable slot receiver. I think he's a very safe pick at the NFL level. If you can't already tell by all of his rankings, they're very much in the middle. So I think that ranks out 8th. And then I think his floor, obviously being very high, I think ranks out 3rd. He's a safe receiver prospect. His tape is 6th. And his quarterback rating when targeted is pretty damn good, 121.4, which ranks out 4th. And his hands rating is 4th as well. And the thing about Egbuka is, I don't know. To me, nothing really just jumps off the page. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way at all. He's going to be a talented wide receiver and have a good career. But to me, nothing jumps off the page that really screams superstar potential. When I watch his tape, I don't think people really say this much. And maybe I'm just have no idea what I'm talking about. But honestly, when I watch it, I think that the route running could be a little bit better. I think he needs to refine that a little bit. And like I said, I might have no idea what I'm talking about, right? I'm not an NFL scout. But I think that the route running can improve. But, I mean, this dude is able to catch through contact. He does not let anybody, disrupt him from his focus on the ball, which is one thing that really popped out on the tape is this dude is freaking fearless catching in traffic. So I think that's a very good trait to have at the NFL level. You can't, lose your focus. And so I think, like I said, he's going to be a good receiver. He's going to be a reliable receiver. I just don't think I just don't see superstar potential at this point, but that could always change. Coming in at number 6, we have a guy that I am super high on, that I am a super big fan of. And every time we do, rankings like this, like quarterback and running back and receiver, and anytime I do scouting, I always have one guy from each position group that I'm like, that guy's going to be towards the top. That guy's going to be a stud. And to me, for the receivers, I think that's going to be Jack Beck. Guys, what's so funny, I'm so bad with names. Like, literally, I watched all these dudes tape, listen to the announcers say their names like 1,000 times, and I still can't remember how you pronounce it. But Jack Beck, I think it's Jack Beck, out of TCU. Huge fan. I think he's going to be my gem from the receiving group. I mean, there is one guy in front of him that I also am a big fan of. But I think this is the guy that's going to surprise the most amount of people. Quarterbacks, we had Riley Leonard. I'm a huge fan of him. Running backs, we had Quinshon Judkins. Huge fan of him. And I think receivers, it's going to be Jack Beck. I mean, this guy just has unteachable traits, I think. And so he's out of TCU, obviously. 6'2", 215 pounds. This guy's got good size. Ranks out 4th. And if you saw this dude's bench press, he's definitely the strongest receiver out of these 10 guys. I mean, this guy plays like it as well. He's very physical. His athletics, I gave him a 2.3 out of 5. He does rank towards the bottom in that department with the 4.55 40. But obviously speed isn't everything, right? Last year at TCU, he put up 62 catches, 1,000 receiving yards, and 9 receiving touchdowns, which ranks out 3rd. Put up very good stats, and also still put up 1,000 yards on 60 catches, which is actually kind of ridiculous, especially when you put into perspective that he played with like guys like Savion Williams, right, who's an NFL prospect going into next year, who wasn't very big on the receiving end of the field, but still he was there. His ceiling, I think he could be a star wide receiver 2, which is 5th. And what I mean by that is that this guy reminds, like, when you watch him, okay, first of all, when you watch him, the first comparison that pops up to me is Jordy Nelson. And I know that's crazy. Obviously, I'm not saying Jack Beck is going to be the next Jordy Nelson, right? But that's how he plays. Very, very similar play style, just physical. uses his body to make a catch. Very reliable hands. And just kind of has that sneaky athleticism, right? That's what people always say about white guys, but it's true. So he reminds me a lot of Jordy Nelson, but like at a current NFL level, what I think he could do coming into the NFL is almost be like the next Puka, or have like a Puka type role where he came in and became a very good wide receiver too. Now, obviously, Puka is a wide receiver 1 at this point in Los Angeles, and not saying Jack Beck can't get to that level, but he just reminds me so much of Puka, the way he plays, the way he's you wouldn't think he'd be able to make any catch in the book, but he can, just like how Puka was playing when he first came into the NFL. I could see Jack Beck having not that same ascent that Puka had, because it was almost immediate, but I think he could get to that point, and I think that's his ceiling. I think he could be like a Puka Nacua, just savvy. Literally watch this guy's tape. There's balls that get thrown up, and I just think there's no way they're getting caught. Goes up, makes the catch, loves to make contested catches, has great hands. His hands rank out third, and his quarterback rating when targeted 125.9, which also ranks out third. But yeah, I think this guy could be a sneaky gem in this draft class. His floor, I think, is a reliable backup, which is 7th, and his tape is 4th. But yeah, huge fan of him. I think he could be one of the best receivers in this class easily. Coming in at number 5, we have Trey Harris. So this is another guy that I'm pretty big on, that I like. Out of Ole Miss, he's 6'3", 210 pounds. Actually has really good size. He ranks out 3rd there. I gave him a 2.5 out of 5. With a 4.54 40, on the athletic side. So he's not the most athletic out of these guys, because he ranks out 8th, but obviously still very athletic. And like I said, for Jack Beck, right? Speed isn't everything. And this guy kind of reminds me of like a DK Metcalf Jr., because obviously DK Metcalf was a lot more athletic, but still great size, very physical, great red zone target. Loves to go up for the contested catches. 60 catches, 1,000 receiving yards, and 7 receiving touchdowns last year at Ole Miss, which ranks out 4th. His ceiling, I think he could be a star in the NFL. Like I said, have a DK Metcalf, just physical receiver, good blocker type role, which ranks out 7th. And his floor is a reliable backup, which I think ranks out 6th. And his tape, I think, is 2nd. Very, very impressive tape to me. I really enjoyed watching his tape. Especially those red zone targets. His quarterback rating when targeted is 1st in this class. Absolutely absurd. 143 quarterback rating. Now, did he play with a guy who's probably going to be drafted towards the end of the 1st round, early 2nd round in Jackson Dart? Yes, he did. But still, 143 rating on every single pass that's thrown to you is pretty damn impressive. And his hands do rank out 9th. I'm not too concerned about that. But yeah, big on Trey Harris. I think he'll be a good physical red zone threat in the NFL, even at his floor. So I think he's a safe pick. Coming in at number 4. Now, we kind of went through a lot of guys who are just going to be safe picks, right? We've talked about that a lot with this class. Now, here's a guy who I think you draft for your star potential, maybe even your superstar potential, even though I put his ceiling as a star, right? But is this a risky pick? It can be. Burton III out of Missouri, 5'11", 208 pounds. He does rank out 8th in size. His athletics, I gave him a 3.5 out of 5. He did run a 4.41, which ranks out 5th. His stats, bottom last. I guess they did not use this guy at all at Missouri last year. Only 61 catches, 676 yards, and 6 receiving touchdowns, which ranks out bottom last. Now, I say that he didn't really get used that much, but this is why, I think Jack Beck, the season that he had last year was so impressive. If you really put it into perspective, because Luther Burden had 61 catches, 600 yards, Jack Beck had 1 more catch and 400 more yards, which is actually absurd. This dude is just efficient, but I don't want to keep glazing Jack Beck. Let's get back over here. I just want to show you why that's actually so damn impressive, and I actually kind of want to put his stats ranking up to 2nd Maybe not first, but that's just absolutely crazy. As well as 3 more touchdowns too. Anyways, Luther Burden, I think his ceiling, he could be a star. Ranks out 3rd. I think he has a very high ceiling, but he has the lowest floor. I mean, special team type player, but there could be a situation, right, where, Luther Burden, the big thing on him right now is his attitude. There's some attitude concerns. And when you watch the tape, you'll even see, I mean, this dude's like a George Pickens, maybe even, I don't even know if George Pickens was like this in college, but definitely like a George Pickens type player, which some teams might like, honestly. Some teams might need that fire, right? But you might get to a situation where you have like a diva personality where, you've seen it happen in the NFL plenty of times, and it can be a nightmare. So I think his floor is 10th, but I do think you are drafting him for that potential that he has. When you watch his tape, which ranks out 2nd, very good tape, right? Pops off the screen. When I watch Luther Burden play, he reminds me a lot of like a Steve Smith Sr., right? A guy who doesn't have the biggest size, right? He's kind of an undersized receiver, but he's got very good contact balance, very good frame. He's 208 pounds, right? Good size for his height, and just savvy, avoids hits, able to get away from hits, hard to take down just because he's so quick, and savvy when he's running. Is a very good runner. And also just has the personality traits of Steve Smith, where they want to talk shit. They're going to be up in your face. They're going to be backing up their shit talking. So he reminds me a lot of Steve Smith, especially in his Baltimore days, because that's when I watched him the most as a Ravens fan, towards the end of his career. But, you're drafting him for that type of potential, right? Now, do I think he could be the next Steve Smith Sr.? To be honest, no. But that type of potential, okay? Quarterback rating when targeted, 115.2, which ranks out 6th. And then his hands are 5th, which is in the middle of the pack there. Coming in at number 3, we have T-Mac out of Arizona. He is 6'5", 212 pounds, which ranks out 2nd. I mean, he's right there with Jaden Higgins. They have very good size in this class. His athletics, I give him a 1 out of 5. He ran a 4.55. Now, here's my concern. A lot of these top tier guys, these blue chip prospects, some of them just don't even do the combine, and it gets a little frustrating. I mean, I get it because they're already a freaking top prospect. Why do they need to go out and risk ruining that stock? But it does get frustrating from, a scouting standpoint, because literally the only thing that we have on T-Mac in terms of his athletics is that 4.55 40, which I think is from a pro day. It's not even a combine 40, meaning it could be slower than that. Because pro day 40s aren't always reliable, and so that's why he gets a 1 out of 5, which ranks out bottom. Obviously, do I think he is the worst athlete in this class? I don't think so, but it is a little concerning, and I don't know why some prospects do that. Last year at Arizona, he had 84 catches for 1,300 receiving yards and 8 receiving touchdowns, which ranks out 2nd. Okay, guys, I do apologize. I realized I didn't have the ceiling or floor updated for him. I accidentally had another receiver there. But his ceiling, I do think, is a star. Pretty, decently high ceiling, decently high floor for T-Mac. The main thing about him, there's some concerns that his head's not really in the game, so to speak. He's a big volleyball player. Some people think his main passion is there. To me, it happens every now and then. Sometimes that becomes a concern. People thinking that they're going to choose baseball, or they have a passion over here. And sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But I don't know. For me, sometimes it does pop up when... I apologize, guys. I realized I didn't have the ceiling or floor updated for T-Mac here. I actually had another receiver, but his ceiling, I think, is a star. His floor, reliable wide receiver 2 or wide receiver 3, right? which I think is relatively high for both in this class. But the big thing with T-Mac, I mean, he has the traits to be able to, be a star receiver in the NFL. He's got great size. When you watch his tape, he makes everything just look fluid. Great contested catch ability, able to go up and just make it look so easy. When you watch him play, he makes everything look so easy and almost like he's just not trying, which I know that actually is a concern with T-Mac. A lot of people saying his passion is actually volleyball. He's a big volleyball player, and he's not really going to have that passion for football. I mean, guys, you never know that. I mean, a lot of these guys are multi-sport athletes that probably didn't start with football, or some of them didn't start at football at first. So you never can really, know that with the receiver. I will say what is concerning is, he didn't really test at all for his athletics. And when you watch his tape, he doesn't burst off the line very well. He doesn't have a good start. He might get kind of, off balanced, out of focus by bigger corners who are going to press him and disrupt his route. So I think that is a little bit of a concern. And like I said, he makes it look like he's not even trying, which can be a good thing. It can also be a bad thing. But his rating when targeted is 110.7, and his hands rank out 8th. I'm not concerned about that. I really don't believe in that at all. This guy's got great hands. And I will tell you, originally I had T-Mac second. In last second, I decided to switch the receivers. They're very close to me for two different reasons, right? They have two different skill sets. But for me, who I think is going to have a better career is going to be Matthew Golden out of Texas, right? You have the size and you have the speed. You have the size with T-Mac and you have the speed with Matthew Golden. I'm taking the speed here because not only does Matthew Golden have the best athletics in this wide receiver class by far, with a 5 out of 5 athletic grade, 4.2940 he ran, which ranks out first. Which when you watch his tape, you don't really think that he runs a 4.29, which is why his tape is 7th. It doesn't jump off the screen. But that can also be kind of dangerous for other teams, right? Because he doesn't look that fast, but his top end speed can kill you out of nowhere. But yeah, Matthew Golden, 6 foot, 195 pounds, kind of ranks out towards the middle of everything. He's not towards the bottom at all, and he has a couple, like his athletics and his floor. I think this guy has a high floor just from his speed. I mean, a lot of teams are looking for speed right now. You saw his college mate, Xavier Worthy, get drafted in the first round last year just because he broke the 40 record. Last year at Texas, he had 58 catches for 987 receiving yards and 9 receiving touchdowns, which ranks out 5th. His ceiling, I think he'd be a star slot, like almost like a Brandon Cooks when Brandon Cooks was at his peak, which ranks out 6th. And his floor, I think, is a reliable slot. I mean, no matter what, he's going to be a good slot receiver in the NFL, which ranks out 2nd. His rating when targeted is 116.6, which is 5th, and his hands are 7th. I think he's a very safe prospect. He should go to a team. I think the best fit would be for him to go to a team who has a great wide receiver 1, superstar wide receiver 1 even, but then like no one else really. Like he would be such a good wide receiver 2 to start his career. And I think the mock for him to go to Dallas is just too perfect. Little spoiler alert for my mock draft coming up. I just think that match is just too perfect. They already have CeeDee Lamb. Now get this speedy receiver. Now, just because, Matthew Golden's known as a speedy slot receiver, this dude actually makes great catches through contact, through traffic, which actually kind of impressed me when I watched his tape. He was able to adjust his body very well, almost like he was like a DK, like a deep threat receiver. So I thought that was pretty impressive, but I just think him playing that like that Brandon Cooks role, but times 10 in Dallas, right? Coming in at number 1 though, we have none other than Travis Hunter out of Colorado. You guys might have been wondering once you saw T-Mac and Matthew Golden, who the fuck is number one? It's the two-way star, Travis Hunter. 6'1", 185 pounds. I gave him a 4 out of 5 athletic rating. He ran a 440. I think that was a pro day, though. That wasn't the combine. I could be wrong. But like I said, same with T-Mac. He didn't really do anything else, which ranks out fourth. Everything else, though, is pretty much first, right? Last year at Colorado, he had 96 catches for 1,300 receiving yards, 15 receiving touchdowns. His ceiling. Now, keep in mind, why that I think just clears him above everyone else is because not only did he put up those stats, but he also did that while taking snaps as a corner. Like this, it's just absolutely ridiculous. His ceiling, obviously, is superstar. His floor, though, is he can provide value for you, even if he's not your wide receiver one. If for some reason he doesn't pan out that way, which I don't think there's any reason why he wouldn't. He gives you value on the defensive side of the ball. You can use him as a corner. So that just ranks out first. I mean, this guy is a superstar. He's a generational talent that, I mean, I didn't think he was the best receiver in the class until I really went back and watched tape, and I'm like, okay, yeah, you can see just the difference. Like he's in a tier of his own, even on the receiving end of the field. Yeah, just a generational, once in a lifetime prospect for me, in my personal opinion. His tape ranks out first, hands first, rating when targeted 138.4, which ranks out second. Travis Hunter. I think if he goes into the NFL as a wide receiver one, he is going to have a great career. I think he'll have a great career no matter what, obviously, but I think he can be a top 10 receiver in the NFL early in his career, and obviously more from there. Because when I give these players superstar ceilings, right? When I say that their ceiling is a superstar, which Travis Hunter has been the only one, is the only one. In this receiving video, I think in the running back video, I gave Ashton Genty a superstar ceiling, which would be like on the same level as like Saquon, Christian McCaffrey, like that type of ceiling. But when I say superstar for receivers, I mean we're talking the same tier as Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, like those guys. So when I say these guys are going to be a star, I'm not saying like, oh, they'll be a star. I'm saying like they're in that next tier, which is still a very good tier to be in. So yeah, guys, let me know what you guys think of the video. Let me know what you guys think of my ranking. These receivers were honestly very hard to rank because they're all so close in talent, except in my opinion, Travis Hunter, who I think is pretty clear above the rest. But yeah, they're all very close in talent, and so it was very hard to rank them, and I just had to kind of rank the guys I liked the most a little bit higher. So guys, let me know what you guys think of the video. Like I said, I will be doing a full first-round mock draft. It will be coming out, midway this week before the draft, so make sure you guys stay tuned for that. Subscribe if you like this kind of content, and I will see you guys in the next one. Later.